The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Welcome to the Captains and Coaches podcast, where we explore the art and the science of leadership through the lens of athletics and beyond. I'm your host, Tex McQuilkin, and today we explore one of the most powerful dynamics in athletics, the relationship between a head coach and a team captain. I'm thrilled to dive into this topic with someone who fundamentally shaped my understanding of this partnership and my professional journey as a coach. I returned to campus on Marymount University to sit down with head men's lacrosse coach, Jon Reynolds. The connection between a coach and a team captain is more than just a leadership structure. It's the heartbeat of a program's culture. When this relationship is built on trust, open communication, and a shared vision, it creates a foundation that elevates the entire team. As one of Coach Reynolds' first team captains during his early years at Marymount, I experienced firsthand how this dynamic can transform not just a season, but the trajectory of an entire program. I still vividly remember the conversations before practice, the strategic discussions during challenging moments in a season, and the courageous conversations following one or all of my teammates' cheeky shenanigans. These weren't just moments of coaching and playing, they were lessons in leadership, trust building, and the power of aligned purpose. Coach Reynolds, affectionately known to my teammates as C-Ray, showed me when a coach truly invests in developing their team captains, they're not just building better players, they're cultivating future leaders who can carry a team's vision forward into their own lives. Leaning into some of our history and story time from our seasons together, we'll explore what it takes to take charge of a program with a toxic environment, C-Ray's evolving philosophy behind effective team leadership, and the unique dynamic between coaches and captains that continues to this day as C-Ray hands off more wisdom to me during this conversation. With that, let's hand it off to my coach, Jon Reynolds. Ready, and ready.
You hit the nail on the head when you wanted to talk about how many great things have happened and shouldn't have.
Oh, well, that's the whole story. All right, rocking and rolling.
All right.
Welcome to the Captains and Coaches podcast on location, Marymount University, where it all began. So that the whole idea, concept of captains and coaches, it started on campus. So this was my Division III athletic career, and then you stepped into my second season on campus. So that first season as an athlete with a coach who was a tyrant, people did not quit because they hated him so much, and it was their energy that led them to commit to the team and the program and the brotherhood just to spite the coach. So then we lost a lot of people. They did quit because of that. So it was this interesting dichotomy. And then my mindset was an athlete. I would do anything for the team. I joined cross country.
Yeah.
So I wasn't built to run. Even watching our game films that are up on YouTube and the fun happy hours,
Mm-hmm.
I look at my running technique and I like a Lego. It's terrible. So yeah, fortunately for me that year, I broke my leg. So hit a guy so hard, I stepped on him, rolled my ankle, and Nemus. So that allowed me to slow down and learn the game of lacrosse. Because coming from Texas, I was basically a linebacker with a stick.
Yeah.
So that slowed me down a little bit. But then enter into year two. And so you're taking on this amalgamation, these roughnecks that came together from all walks of the East Coast and beyond.
Yeah.
And we were together against a coach. So we had a negative relationship with coach, right? The term. So you're stepping into this environment, this playground of, island of misfit toys.
Mm-hmm.
And man, you had to bring us all together. So speak to us. You step into this program as a returning. So you were an athlete here. You were a captain here. And then now you're stepping into the coaching role. What was it like walking through the doors?
I think we had a lot of pride as a program, and that's what immediately I recognized that we were missing. The guys here, had the athletic ability. Obviously, the numbers were different. It wasn't you know, the best that we could have, right? But there was a ton of heart and still had it. And the thing about this place is, we achieve a lot with a little. And the program, obviously, still as it does for you, it meant everything to me. And that, so many guys before us, and so many guys that'll come after as well too. So I knew, having, being my father's son, right? Cleaning out the office, looking through all this stuff. And there was just so much level of detail, obviously, the previous coach and what he was putting in. And I looked at it and there's no reason to have all of these things, but obviously coming across that visor, my dad
Oh,
taught me about the symbolism of things and how it was important. And there was a sticker that I found in the desk that was the skull and crossbones that said, "The beatings will continue until morale improves."
that
And that symbolized it 100%. And I never experienced that. I didn't know him really, and it was something that sticking that sticker on that hat. And to be honest, I want to say I gave it to Pat Milan, or I gave it to Nemus, but I definitely gave it to an older guy. And I told him, I said, "Listen, you guys have fun tonight, hang out, but you should take this and you should do whatever you want with it because tomorrow's a different day." And I think you guys went and I don't
Well, I can
whatever
pick
too.
up where that story left off. Yeah, it was a little bonfire,
Yeah,
and that was lightly placed with some kind words, a send off,
yeah,
as a change in
yep,
regime was coming.
yeah. And I think that says a lot, and part of it was we weren't going to do it any way that you guys had done it before, and I had experienced as a player two different coaches, right? The second coach obviously gave me my start in coaching. My senior year, asked me to stay on as an assistant the next year. Knew I was going to be local, knew I was teaching, and obviously was a captain, like you said, and had a passion for a certain kind of way to operate. And he felt I could cross the line and be an assistant, and it has helped shape me in some of the times in selecting a guy who I think can step into the coaching ranks because they're not interested necessarily in being your friend. It's about winning. It's about what's important for the program.
That's the essence that I call it 0 to 1 leadership. So you're doing everything right. You're checking all the boxes. You're doing the intangibles, and then you're assigned this opportunity to take on now a bigger role and lead the team. So you don't need the C on your chest to be a leader, but at the same time, once you get it, now you have no choice but to step in and take on the responsibility of that role. So it does mean a lot. It's not just and some guys are upset when they feel they're doing everything right and they don't get it. But at the same time, how do they frame that as an opportunity? Or do they take it personally? If they've taken it personally, well, that's the biggest step. There's low self-awareness, and we can present that as an opportunity for, I mean, anytime throughout a season, you can change captains.
Absolutely. I've seen it happen, and I've seen guys had it taken from them. I have not done that, but have certainly tried to do my best to help direct. And I've had some captains too where I feel like it was a popularity vote, and maybe that year that guy didn't do as well as he could have, but in recent years and since COVID and since I would say like the last 5, 6 seasons, it has been it's been a change of the guard. It's been a little bit different to that approach and the opportunity that has been created by, where we are and a shift. And obviously there were so many things that happened and, the AD at the time for joining the new conference, and it was 100% the right move. The vision of her and the president, like it was exactly what we needed as a school, and all of the programs here have benefited, and it's impossible to argue. But back to your point about what those guys have done, sometimes they were the most, you know, they facilitated the best, they organized the best, they did the guys to getting them ready to what they needed to do. there's something to be said for a guy that's a leader like that. But then you also need that guy that's ready to just say, hey, I want the ball, and, I'm going to take this and run. And, when it counts, I want the ball.
Yeah, you
So
got to be the dude.
you got to be the man. Yeah. So,
And I mean, we had that mix of the team. I certainly wasn't the best player on the team, but definitely the right person for the team, able to bring guys together and amalgamate this, rambunctious group
yeah.
that
Yeah,
were highly motivated for all the wrong reasons.
for sure.
So then, that first year taking on the challenge, we were in the best conference in Division III lacrosse. Salisbury, Stevenson, York was on its way up, so we had our challenges ahead of us, and then you chose to schedule some historic programs,
Yeah.
and yeah, a
A lot of the ODACs.
lot of the ODACs,
Yeah.
and on the road especially, which I loved.
Yeah.
Because we are going to these different campuses. We're experiencing, dude. Gettysburg Gettysburg is probably my favorite place to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
Just seeing the battlefields and all that, but like taking us into those environments.
Yeah.
That matured us quickly, and showed us like there was still opportunity because we had dudes that had flashes, so it was able to introduce there's possibility here.
Sure. I always thought, and I still use it to this day through the recruiting process and talking with potential prospects, that we're going to put you in the most hostile environments that we can, and you are going to be a pilgrim in an unholy land, and they're not going to be there to make friends. They're there to make enemies.
Yeah,
So,
Lynchburg. I'm having
yeah.
flashbacks.
Yeah.
They allowed their student body to put couches
Yeah.
basically on the field.
They don't do that anymore. It went a little too far. I don't know if it was, us or maybe an old ODAC matchup, but yeah, they don't allow that. But those were the days,
That was awesome.
Yeah, you could get hit in the face with my senior
Red
year.
Solo Cups.
I got hit in the face with a penny my senior year, and we beat him. And I remember catching eyes with the guy, and he looked right at me, and he called my mother every name he could think of. And all I could think about at that moment in time was just clear the ball and we win the game. And we did, So I putting you guys in those things that for me, they shaped me as a player. So I knew I had the experience. I had, obviously a lot of success as a player. So I think that was what I knew I wanted to give, you guys in the beginning, and get back to what, had been such a solid base for this program, built from nothing, not a whole lot. We were very nomadic in who we were. I think there was one year that you were here, we played at 7 different home sites, and that just became part of what it was. That was the culture. And for us to beat the teams that we did, to do the things that, to have the successes that we had, and to play the games, even if they weren't that wins, but we took those teams all the way to the wire. And, we had our fair share of overtime wins and overtime losses as well, too. And against programs that had every single advantage over us, and it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As we go through this, we're going to get to my favorite story of all time.
Yeah.
But let's speak to the first win, which was an overtime win. So Farmingdale State.
Yeah.
At Washington Lee.
Yeah, it was a W&L. Yeah.
W&L. Yeah. I still got the memory. So I gave the pregame speech for that. So took a playbook out of one of my high school football coaches, and got the dudes riled up for that.
Mm.
Yeah, it was, and I still recall it. I'm not much of a religious man, but if you ever heard the prayer, if you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you will have no fear.
Yeah.
Well, we have no fear because we're the baddest in that valley.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember it. It was a bitter cold night.
Oh, God.
7 p.m. in February, right? I don't know why the game time was that, but it probably had something to do with just the scheduling, right? That was all we could get. And I remember PJ and Kevin were going off, and PJ had a great game, but he got hurt. He rolled his ankle, and I think we'd put someone else in, and they were not they were faltering quick, and I remember going over and talking to PJ. You gotta go back in, and he taped it up, went back in, and he ended up having 5 points. And I remember the previous coach called me, goes, "How the heck did you get PJ Keshevars to score 5 points and the game winner?" So, um, and I knew then, there's certain things that tell you about justifying, you know, the direction of where it was going, and obviously that was the first of many, and it definitely to get that call. I've had a few of them. We played Stevenson to the wire one day, and
Yep.
um, Coach Cannon Bennett called me, and the next day and goes, "Man, that was an unbelievable game. Like, you guys, did everything possible to put that on the line, and outstanding performances by guys." I remember St. Mary's when basically it locked up probably in their all conference vote for Kevin that year, where he just went off, and he's like, that kid's the real deal, and it was a 1 goal loss. So
Yeah.
there are times that, obviously I think you learn more from the losses necessarily than the wins, but the wins are what people remember. The games, I'm a part of that crowd too, with the alumni and getting together at these events and talking about the games. And I love hearing other people talk about it. I'm in it every day. I'm in the weeds all the time with these guys, and what others remember, I truly enjoy. That's why alumni weekend's the best. You get all those guys together, and they talk about the speeches I gave, and I'm like, oh man, and I will not mention them here because obviously this is going to go out. But some of the things I said, I'm like, man, I probably shouldn't, maybe still be employed. I don't know. Maybe one of those things, I'm going to say something in the future because I think maybe, guys are changing. But, that is something I didn't plan any of them. I just said what I thought that the guys needed to hear at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean it's heat of the moment, and then there is something to the magic of a pregame speech.
Yeah.
So it can't be too long, but it's got to like lead to a peak, and then spark it. And then the timing is everything. Do we do this pre warm up, or do we do this pre going out before the face off? So there's a little bit of magic to it. So I mean, timing is everything. Which, I mean, historic win to start it all. Growth through adversity. I mean, that's my defining opportunity within Marymount University, Marymount Lacrosse.
Yeah.
Adversity is the key word, because we had different fields, we had different practice schedules, nighttime, lights,
middle of the night,
middle of the night,
on that river. Yeah.
shoveling
Yeah.
the field if it snowed.
Yeah.
Well, don't schedule anything 2 hours before because we got to shovel the field. Girls get to go out and practice. Then when everything freezes again, you boys get to go out there.
Yep.
So
it was not for the faint of heart or weak of soul. Yeah.
But I mean, these are the stories, the moments that bring everything together.
I could argue, what defines success, because I know a lot of guys have come through this program who've become great men, great fathers, at huge impacts in their industry, guys that have gone all over the globe, you know what I mean, to, kind of help what's going on. So it's definitely makes a difference.
Time out. What if I told you the path to transformation isn't about rigid schedules and crushing yourself daily in the gym? It's about moving with purpose and intention. At Captains and Coaches, we understand that true leadership starts with embodiment. When you look the part, you lead the part. But here's what makes our training programs different. The Old Bull training program adapts to your life, not the other way around. Choose your own adventure, daily workouts less than 60 minutes a day, with rep schemes that flex depending on your energy and feel, because we know sustainable growth happens when you become a self-leader and stop missing workouts. This creates a powerful ripple effect. To change how you move, you transform your mental, emotional state. Transform your emotions, and you elevate your decisions. Better decisions, that's when your entire quality of life shifts. Join the Old Bull movement. Let's build more than a stronger body. Let's create a purposeful, powerful life on your terms. Click the link in the show notes for a 7-day free trial of the Old Bull program and get started today. And now, back to the show. Ready, and ready. I do want to spend time with common struggles for first-time leaders. I mentioned 0 to 1 leadership for
the team captain. They're taking on this responsibility. At the same time, you're social with your teammates, but now all of a sudden you're handed this responsibility. So struggles within first-time leaders and captains that you've led, and at the same time, you stepping into that role as an athlete way back when, and how has that prepared you now as a coach to guide these guys when they take on the role of captain?
I always start it with a first speech to them to say that, I'm accessible to you and you're accessible to me. They're at 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there's certain things that I need to know, and there's certain things I don't want to know. And part of this is that you need to understand what that is and figure that out. That there's some things that I don't want to know every little thing about every guy. You need to understand what's going to help those guys best out and their best interest, because at certain points might not have had the biggest influence on the game because of your position. Your position was crucial, right, in regards to the role that you played on the field. But some guys aren't always. It's not always the attackman who scores all the goals. It's the captain. Sometimes it's the LSM that's the captain, and maybe the goalie. Obviously, they got to make the big saves. But I think what it comes down to is that those guys need to understand that everybody can't be. You can't scream at everybody. You can't yell at everyone. You have to find out what reaches each individual, and as a coach, that's what you have to figure out. But they get so much more exposure to them. They're around them all the time, and their influence on those guys is going to be sometimes more influential than a coach. I say everything. Go to bed early, drink water, get on the bus at this point in time. Make sure you got the blue helmet, not the black helmet, right? And there's so much coordination. I tell them everything, and they hear 30%. So what a teammate says to you, I know, having been in that position, you as well, the impact of one of your peers telling you, and regardless of how you view them, you want people in your life that are going to tell you the truth. You want them to say, not always agree with you, and there's definitely, some fight to that, where, there's hierarchy. There's a way to go above. There's a way to talk about, hey, this is what, and some guys get caught up in, like, hey, they're, maybe drunk with power of what this means and what it needs to be. To be honest, being a captain to me always meant that you had to do all the dirty stuff. You were there first, you were there last. You have to do all the things that maybe things don't want to do. Yeah, and if you see somebody slacking, you either go and help them or you do it for them. That's what it means to be a captain in my eyes. So telling them that speech and breaking it down in that way, I will give them information that I think that will help their perspective that not everybody on the team's privileged to. We had plenty of conversations. I was like, this is what you need to know. This is what is being said behind closed doors above our pay grade. And, we have to fix those conversations. Aren't helping us. Like, they're going to do a lot to, hold us back. So we need to, perception is big, and especially on a campus like this, like, it's huge about the type of character that you are. You need people in your corner that are going to help you, and having been there, knowing that there's a certain way to get to that spot. So it's critical to have that type of relationship, I think, with them. And as they go through, they start to understand. And I can't tell you how many times afterwards, like, Coach, you were 100% right about that. 100% right about that. So if you're honest, I'm not trying to, I've never been a coach that was coached from fear or anything like that. But I'm the first person off the bus every time. I'm the first person that is going to walk right into, Coach, where are we going? Like, we're going to walk right in the middle of the lion's den, and, like, this is, we're here to play.
Yeah, leading from the front.
Yeah.
So I've explored and learned a lot about leadership, and then simply put it as there's authoritarian or authoritative. So stepping into the authoritative is the fear, is the power, is the do this or else. And then you are fighting so hard to keep your image of perfection, of power. And in essence, it becomes about you as the leader. Or the authoritarian is you're establishing expectations. You're holding people to those expectations. So that's where we see, Your potential's up here. And now we're helping guide them to achieve their potential, whether it's athletic performance, academics,
Yeah,
or just as young men
sure.
stepping into campus. And then I've been a part of a lot of universities, and it's sometimes people have it out for athletes, whether they're individual students or they're academia. So if you wear your gear sometimes at colleges, people then want to put you down. So it's an opportunity now to, whether you have the sweatshirt on or not, whatever campus you're on, okay, well, you can change the perception and help them change whatever disgruntled feelings they have against you. Yeah, I've seen this everywhere, which is wild to me, where, yeah, you get the opportunity now to change somebody's beliefs and perceptions about whatever it is they're feeling, and it's a great opportunity.
I think that there's something to be said for that. And I think at first, as a younger coach, I was interested in changing what people thought. And now that I'm older, I actually and have been through so many of these and now staring down season 20, I'll tell you what, you know what? I think that a lot of people, as much as they want to do, I built you guys up and I think it's just something that's the same way we do now. You carry a level of swagger about you that it isn't because you know, they're sitting there trying to break you down. It's more as that they think that you're better than them. Why would someone hate on you unless they were really interested in knowing that, like, you know what, you're better than them. You know what I mean? You're just, how the audacity to think like we're supposed to, bow down. Like, oh, this is this school. This is this program. Like, no, whatever. I never cared anything about that. To be honest, I was a little bit like you, and I was a little green coming into school where I didn't really know I was supposed to be fearful of this program. I didn't care. What does that mean to me? Like I was, lacrosse was relatively new, not, played it through high school, but it was something of where what's the point of any of that, right? So I think that that has come now too, where I can see it in guys, and it's easy. It's like we're playing chess and they're playing checkers. I can see how much they dislike me. They're nice to my face, but the second I turn around, like they're not voting for our players, they're not doing this, and it's something that understandably so. They don't like it. They hear the stories that I say. I'm in these circles. I think I sent you recruiting one time, and you were like, "Coach, there's all these knitting circles of guys
Oh,
that get
I got
together.
funny
They're,
stories about that. Yeah.
and that, but that's the truth. And I still think that those circles exist of where I used to get upset. Why wasn't I included in that? Why wasn't I? To be honest, I don't think it had anything to do with other than that they didn't want someone like me in there because guys like us would take over the room. They would, steer the conversation because we actually did those experiences. It wasn't something that we saw. It wasn't something that someone else did that we could tell the story for. Like, no, we did it.
Hmm.
We went there. We experienced that. It was us, like, because who dares wins, right? And we always dared.
There was so much growth for me stepping into that coach's role. I know we're going to get there, but it is battling imposter syndrome, like where I'm inherently nice and open and talk to people. Like, why would they put these guards up? Why would they put these shields up? So then naturally took it personally,
Yeah,
but now it's okay, understanding that,
yeah,
and then taking that into leadership lessons with the teams that I lead. So understanding that there are culture killers that go after, it's envy, it's resentment.
hmm,
So it's everything that you feel inside. You need to have self awareness to step up. So when someone else is expressing that to you, well, arm them with tools to then take it down. Or if I'm feeling envy about somebody's really nice car and I'm a high schooler, well, guess what? I want you to go talk to them about it. They're going to tell you gas mileage or how much it costs for them
hmm.
to fill up that
Insurance.
badass truck, insurance, if they're paying that in high school, but it's probably gas. So go talk to them about it. Don't just be and hold it in. Communicate to them, find out the problems, and maybe you are liking your piece of junk hand me down car that your dad gave you, a 1984 Mercedes turbo diesel. Like it's a good thing.
Yeah,
So little things like that, and I mean, there's so much growth in that. And then the knitting circles, those exist in every industry.
sure.
So it's not just the lacrosse. I've seen it all over. And what's interesting to me, most of these guys, they attack my height. It's like, dude, I'm 5'7", Irish genetic trash can. I was Division III All-Star, and I joke at All-Star because that's not a real accomplishment. But I joke because all the things that are constraints or should hold me back, or they're commenting on, aiming to roll these into humor or kick doors open.
It's a defense mechanism for them.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
So
And it only highlights their own insecurity.
I know, living
Right?
in their head rent free. That's how I view it.
Yeah, I love it. And you know what? I like that term has come, into the light more recently. And there is something to be said for that, where there was a tear down culture for a long time. There was a, hey, I'm gonna bash you on these certain things. And it's like, I can get it. But you know what? The funny thing is, I heard a guy talk, well, I went to this school and, we beat you every time. I was like, well, you know what? I personally didn't lose to you ever as a player. And most of our games, we beat you by 15. So your experience different than mine. And I think that, the circle, it's like, well, I'm the head coach. You're still somebody's third assistant or whatever. And it's like, you can argue what you will, right? And so I would think that you're still standing in the room, right? And those guys want to, throw shade. Well, my position in the room is much different than yours, so I could argue for you, and I've definitely listened to some things that you've said, and I think the position of what you experienced is allowed you to feel comfortable in that room in all situations. And so many other guys share that because they came through this program.
Oh, I believe it. So our alumni network runs deep, and they are very successful
Yeah,
in many different industries,
so many.
which blows my mind, because that's why I love Alumni Weekend as well, is just keep giving them a hard time. And then they're just, living best lives as
Yeah,
successful businessmen, fathers, everything.
yeah,
And it's just hilarious. Like
yeah,
the constraints that we had, different fields, driving vans to every practice.
yeah.
I mean, many different things. The fitness center versus a weight room.
Yeah, it was a trailer when I was here.
I believe it.
Because they were building this building, right? This
Yeah.
didn't exist. Yeah, it just what they've done, what we made out of something is just proves to the point, I think, speaking to prospects, it's like you ought to have that drive. And I think how you present it is going to touch a guy, and it's going to preach to him in a certain way. And the guys who commit, who fully dial in, who figure it out, they never look back in the end of that 4 years, and they turn around and they don't look at those experiences as something that they can't use. And so many come back and have those conversations. I just wish more did. I wish more made the effort to connect and want to be connected with the team, but it has to be in a way that is, something that it's beneficial, for both, like to help close that circle for those guys. And the message has to be something that's relayed to the team that matters. You've done it a couple of times, and in both times the message was similar, but it was different. And having been in, the only person in the room that saw both, right? It had an impact, and those guys spoke about that for years to come.
I hope so. It
They
was
did.
fun.
They did. They did. And it was something of where I think you kind of talked about it, like, how we as coaches or captains have to set those kind of standards of what it is. I pump them up to be like, hey, listen, you saw what happened last year or the year before. Like, the standard now is different. The standard now has to go up.
Yeah.
And that is part of what you have to combine with your group of guys, get together and talk about. That has to happen. That's up to them, and once they said it, I say it to them. fellas, that was the best drill I've ever seen. That was the best game, the best half, the best quarter. That was the best way to finish a game. Now that I've seen it, that's what you got to do every single time. Like, you've done it once. So I think, going through those trials, sometimes you got to fall flat on your face and, lose to a team that you shouldn't lose to, because, there's always another day. There is always another time and opportunity to get it back.
That senior year comes quick.
Yeah.
So it's important to teach and reinforce those lessons early. And then when they are going against their potential or going against their character with certain behaviors or play, then that's when you step in as a coach and shape. So what I admire about the captain is where a coach is leading from the sideline. Captain, you get the opportunity to feel the flow of the game and lead from the field, or the energy of the sideline if coaches are occupied with the flow of the game, handling the refs, strategery, you get to elevate the energy on the sideline. So it's the ebbs and the flows, and that doesn't even get into the challenges outside within the character. So if dudes stop acting or start acting out of character, now you are having crucial conversations. You're stepping up to the plate, and those small conversations, they matter for your team and your moment in time, but it's going to just have such magnitude when you got to have that conversation, and I'll call it real life.
Yeah.
When you enter into the real world and you're responsible for a business, you're responsible for a family, that conversation, you had reps at it when you were with your guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's opportunity for crucial conversations, for conflict, for public speaking. Your public speaking, those are reps. That's going to count when you get the opportunity to step in front of people and lead the room. It's such a valuable opportunity and experience. So it's not just having a C on your chest and feeling good. Like, it's so many different things that you get the opportunity to then just get reps in before real life.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think that there's a lot of value there. There's something to be said about those experiences and how they shape, right? And just putting thought to what is important, right? And saying that, like, I remembered that, like, I've seen this before, right? And having the wherewithal to understand that, your eyes are on the horizon, and this experience has been something that you watched it happen before, you experienced it. It went this way. That way was bad. Let me go a different direction on this next time. The clues are there. The red flags are there. The green flags are there. The things that pop up that are positive for you are always right in front of you, and your ability to recognize, I think, and have an impact. Because some guys they don't want to be kept. We had a guy this year who I thought would be the best candidate for a captain on the team. He said, "Coach, I don't want it." He said, "I am going to affect this team in my own way. I'm going to be a leader for this squad in the best way I know how. I don't need that to do that." And I was like, that is the best answer I have ever had.
That's why it needs to be.
From that. Correct. It's not going to change who he is. It will never. This guy is he is just, he's had his ups and downs with his own mental health and has become a different person. And I believe that he has figured out a lot of things. And like you said earlier, he has figured out how to live his best life and be one of the most impactful guys on the team, and arguably one of the most impactful positions that there is, and that determines possession all the time.
Short stick D-Mitty?
No,
The
no.
thankless.
No, that requires such a level of grit. I think that even something too, like, I know you coach now at the high school level and where you're at, and I think it's something that at the college level and trying to crack into, the upper echelon of being in there, it does make a difference. So your position specifically as a defensive midfielder now, that position is the most picked on position now. It is everyone puts two shorties and brings them into a pair and sets picks, and it's such a crucial part of the game of where that's not where you put the guy that isn't ready for it. They gotta be a dog and a dude. They have to be. And it's not, "Oh, okay, well, we can make this midi who can't do that." It's that midi has to be fast, athletic, strong, and have, an absolute axe to grind if you're gonna make an O guy a D man. I have this conversation with my offense coordinator all the time. He's like, "Well, we'll just make him a D midi." And if that guy doesn't have, enough hair on his chest yet. There,
Oh,
you know.
but I had plenty. Yeah, I love that position and took a lot of pride in it. I mean, the game was different 20 years ago. It was still picked on and attacked
Yeah, yeah.
and seen as a weakness within the defense, but then taking that on and stepping up to that, like, okay, go. So then, I mean, that position effectively has just defined my whole career. The underdog, okay, oh, this guy is short, just because I said that earlier. Oh, we'll go after him or write him off. So then,
Yeah.
okay, well, now I have to understand the body. I have to understand psychology. I have to understand everything better than what these people are just giving an appearance to me as, and then be the smartest guy in the room. So or the best public speaker, or step up in that respect where, okay, I'm automatically written off just because their initial first impression, let's rock and roll. So it effectively, I mean, was hundreds of reps at that. And then, I mean, let a lot of goals in, stopped a lot of goals. I used my head as a weapon. The game was different back then.
Yeah.
I got more career knockouts than goals. That's just it. I mean,
Yeah.
freaking Colin Farrell he's got CTE because I'm sorry, buddy, but I remember Jamie. She had to stop practice. We were splitting the field, men's and women's.
Yeah.
I freaking slid.
I remember.
And Jamie, after that hit, like I don't know, she had to cancel practice.
Shouldn't have come across the middle.
It's
It's part of the game. I think Colin kept it in perspective too, and I think there was just a physics thing involved in that situation.
yeah,
But
yeah.
and that level of stuff, some years we have it. Some guys are dropping bodies, and some years it's all finesse. It's all guys like looking to take the ball away and aggressively moving their feet and just being the biggest annoyance with that stick. And so I think you're trying to find what that happy medium is, because there's still a physicality that something like that can happen in a game, and that's why not everybody plays it. Not everybody's ready to get hit. That's why you play another sport.
Yeah, just there's still the Hammer Award.
There is, but it doesn't. It gets handed out less and less because there's not always something worthy of it. I've seen some big ones. I've played with guys that, I think maybe my standard is too high.
Yeah,
It's too high. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's a huge one. Like, no, that wasn't.
I ended a St. Mary's kid's career, but then I just remember waiting for the game film, so excited, and then the cameraman is like panning, and then just this timing where I'm just out of frame, and you hear the hit from wherever the camera was,
Yeah.
and then all the flags come out, and I'm sad I missed it on camera.
Yeah.
I can still relive it in my mind, but at the same time, like, I'll take the award right now.
I think maybe that's why I wish more guys would come back and experience those memories and come up with those things, because I'm sure that somebody else remembered it, and you're like,
Well, he does for
I didn't
sure,
think about it.
because he didn't come back the next
Oh,
year.
I definitely know that. I have run in and had many stories about, oh yeah, I remember you guys, and they say and I turn around, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. I don't give it any value then, and I turn around, and if I'm with someone else, I just laugh, or I call somebody up, and I'm like, man, listen to this story.
Yeah. Here's a different
And we have a
perspective.
great laugh. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you, like you said, living rent free in somebody else's mind.
The so teaching the captains now effective communication. So you mentioned you sit down with them all at once to introduce the responsibilities, or is it one-on-one?
No, it's always one on one. Everybody's role is different. For them, they have to figure out how that goes. They need to understand. Um, Part of it is to how it plays out. Some guys are lead by example. Some guys do everything right. Grades. They're on time to everything. They're making sure that they're like, who's in this lift group? You know, Michael, Tommy, Jimmy, Billy. You know, running down the line. And so, okay, well, where's you know, where's Sam at? Where's Jack at? You know, so then they have to go and figure out that. You know, so but other guys are just, you know, they're in there and they just get it done. They're in there to achieve. They're in there to just, you know, what max out. They're in there to play and just they're gonna have 10 goals this practice. They're feeling it. And then when they aren't, you know, somebody else sees, you know, maybe a kink in the armor or something like that and tries to test them, tries to outdo them in the lift, tries to outdo them in the practice in that drill. And then all of a sudden that guy has to be like, yeah, you know, let them know what it's all about. So I think there's different types of leaders. There's different types of captains, especially in our game. It's ever evolving too. And you wish you always had that perfect matrix. We've had four sometimes. We've had, sometimes I feel, you know, everybody has a different opinion. My assistants do as well. Maybe five is too many. Sometimes it's four. I can tell you that I've never had a team where it was only just one guy. I do like the Navy, Army, like they just choose one guy. I don't know that one guy can do it. On a team that has 45 guys, like that's
Well,
tough to say because there has to be some level. They only tell you, hey, there's one captain, but there's got to be a co-captain, assistant captain. There has to be
yeah, definitely different roles.
lieutenants, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I imagine it's similar to a hockey experience, right? You get the C captain that's the allowed to talk to the refs,
yeah,
and then you get the A
yeah,
who's like the energy guy.
yeah, yeah,
I uh I'll find some guys and ask and explore that. That sounds cool. And if there was one dude, you'd know.
yeah,
So it's just haven't had the opportunity to have that dude yet, which is
yeah,
okay. What was interesting on my experience, 1, 2, 3 years as captain, just the growth and the levels. So the first year, I'm an introvert, very quiet person, do everything right. And then we had on that same captain team, Taman, who's unreal, and
yeah,
I've seen him accomplish amazing things, even
yeah.
coming back from cancer to
Right.
still ball out. And then, but he was very emotional, vocal. So then we had a balance there.
Yep.
So then Taman moves on, and now, okay, I have to grow now. So it's finding out who these people are, but also I'm looking 1, 2, 3 years ahead of what they can step into. So one of my pet peeves in going after is coaches that say, "Hey, you're the quarterback, you're the captain, go lead," but they don't give them the tools. What if that is an introvert, quiet kid? Okay, well then let's put him in this leadership position, allow him to lead by example, and then encourage and empower over time to find his voice.
For sure.
Because by the end of it, now we're coming up with new logos. We're coming up with themes for the team,
Right.
and it's speeches. It's stepping into it. And it was public speaking. Like I remember, like, okay, I'm gonna read this, but now I'm learning that nobody's freaking listening to me read off a piece of paper. Okay, I got to just do my best to step in and speak, and
Yeah.
just I got to feel emotion when I'm losing it. I don't know, say something awesome or hilarious and get the energy back up.
Yeah. There are times where I can, you've given plenty of talks where you can feel the room slipping away because you're going over so much technical stuff, or it just you thought that what this was going to be was going to land and everyone was going to, and they heard it and then there was almost no reaction. It's like, did you hear what I just, almost in my mind, I'm like, did you hear what I just said? But There were plenty of times of where I think being eyes on the horizon and seeing something, a connection that can be made that makes you think of something else that you can throw out there. You can just, like you said, toss that up. I kind of more oftentimes use humor, right? And if I can get them laughing, then I know they're paying attention.
So there's there's self-awareness as a coach, which bleeds into social awareness. We got to be able, my team needs this now. I'm going to go step into this conversation a bit later. I'm going to give these guys what they need now, because I'm not going to hold back this conversation over here. My team needs this right now. So it is balancing that, but again, always team first.
Yeah.
And then,
Well, I think too, and what I mean as well is that you've witnessed captains talk. You've witnessed them speak to the group, and you're like, I would have left that out.
yeah.
Yeah, I would
So
have not done that. But you don't
Oh, dude, you can't
Yeah.
step it.
No.
That's the
You let it
closed.
happen, and then you come back later and be like, that whole first 3 quarters, great job, but you needed to just drop this part right there. It would have had such more impact." And they're like, "Okay, coach, I appreciate that." Where they thought maybe that 1 quarter of the speech was really what it should have been. And I was like, "No, that was the worst part of what you said."
Yeah.
You didn't need that, because what you said all in the beginning, that was the most impactful. That's going to be the thing that is going to inspire those guys to do better and do more.
Yeah. And then them taking that constructive feedback, that's a similar within real life work. Like athletics is easy compared to real life work. The criticism, I'm expecting it in the film room. I know I messed up. It's pretty clear. So, okay, coach is going to tell me XYZ. I'm going to aim to do my best next time. In work, you do your best, you turn it in, and they're going to tear it apart. So now it's okay, you get the expectation of my writing, my communication, my speaking is now being evaluated. That's the real world. Athletic performance, easy.
Yeah.
Easy day.
I think that you get more, though, and that's the hard part, because that in college athletics, you talk about the progression of what you did, 1, 2, 3 with that, captain role that you had, but it's been fun, and I'm never going to make $1 million doing this, but to see where you have gone from there, right? There's so many other years that I don't get, but in the professional world, that's the largest part of what you're going to accomplish. But you can always come back, and I'm going to hold the torch and give credit where credit's due to the biggest part, the foundational part of, what it was, and never discount it, because we did some things when you were here. We've did some things with other teams that shouldn't have happened, wins that never should have taken place, but they did, and it ruined guys' entire, whatever, trip, month, year, right? We crushed guys' spirits, held guys out of the NCAA tournament because they lost to us in the last game, and we weren't having a good year, or they were having a great year, and all of a sudden we were having a terrible one, and we smash, and that is something that those are the ones that you can always look back on and say. But I think that I don't get them as long. I don't get them long enough. The success, I obviously try to instill in them what's going to happen, and they move on to something bigger and better. And I find pride in it, in that. I just wish, sometimes I wish college was a little bit longer. Guys could stay in a little bit more, and that I could
That's
have
what I did.
something. Yeah. No, I will say, yeah, you did, but that is not common. I don't get guys that much. Even the whole through COVID thing, I had one guy do an extra year because the academic focus of the guys on the team now is so different. Like, we were graduating guys on time. We were graduating guys on dean's list. Like the academic record of, maybe where it was when you were here, it's very
excluding
different
myself,
now.
I stepped into grad school 4.0 over here.
Right.
I'm just joking about the extra year, but there were some
Oh,
guys they took a victory lap, I believe it's called.
for sure. Yeah. The whole COVID thing and extra eligibility and that kind of stuff threw a wrinkle in. And we were playing against teams that had 5th, 6th, 7th year guys. And I know that program doesn't have a med school, right? So what are you still doing there?
A lot of people go to school for 7 years. Tommy boy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when we're speaking a lot about legacy. So it was cool to be there for the first win, and you've surpassed 100. By far the winningest coach for Marymount Lacrosse, from my understanding. So now the culture changes, program develops. So speak to us about that evolution. Like, what are you holding on to from the beginning that's still a part of the heartbeat, and what is evolved?
I think personally for me that obviously I've gotten some great advice from some mentors, and I recently sat down with one of them and talked about, you know, after 20 now, right? He's a guy who's experienced a lot and gone to, new heights, but has journeyed around and held at some different positions. Um, the advice that I had gotten and received is something that, makes a big difference in regards to just how that's shaped. Early on, I let little things bother me. I didn't get as much out of the coaching component as I should have, right? I have had some great assistants come along and taught me different things, the value of certain statistics, the value of different types of prep, uh, different speeches like you've talked about. Had some guys give some whoppers, and I'm the only one left to know that. And the inevitability as a head coach is that assistants will, they do move on. I love to keep them all for as long as I have. I've been very fortunate to have some guys on my staff that have been with me a good long time now, and that consistency makes a big difference. And I think that in our most recent success, that has had a lot to do with that. And finding other guys that are as, relentless and as focused on making this program what it can be has been a huge help, right? They want to do anything that they can to help the program win. And the mindset has definitely changed with guys. I think, we met, like you talked about, we did some of those happy hour things, like watching old game films, like through COVID, because we were trying to fill the hours. We were doing some things with the team then too that we talked about. And one of the things that said was that there was going to be guys that come out of this. There's going to be teams that come out of this that make this an excuse and watch the program go a different direction. We're going to sit here and turn around and make that. And some guys embodied it. And one guy in particular, man, he lost like 80 pounds. He took your workout with the bucket and the cinder block and all the sand, and he took that to the umpteenth degree and lost 80 pounds. We switched him from an attack to a mid. He was all conference captain by the time it was over, and it was 100% that guys saw that and we're like, yo, if he can do it, I can do it. And that level of that's just been the attitude. That's been the difference. I think maybe in some of those middle years, right? That, we had some super big highs and some super big lows, right? The roller coaster. I had to go through that to figure out what it was. I had to battle through some different things, but also was fortunate to have, some different advantages that came along. Like the time came where we finally, had gotten support. We had received different levels of support from alumni, from the administration, and it was crucial. It was critical to the development of where the team has gone and how it's progressed. So I think that, time will tell where it goes from here. I don't want to necessarily we can't count on anything. All of the prior experiences have led me to understand that, you can't count anything before it's done. But it's something that these guys are hyper focused and they care. The amount of guys that care are, far outshadow the ones that haven't reached that light bulb moment to go off yet. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that coach with you for 3 years, the biggest thing is I wanted it more than the guys. So that was my challenge, is to understand now versus I still had a connection with the guys that I was a team. They were my teammates. Now they were my athletes. Still had that connection, but then there was new blood coming through that didn't understand. They didn't see how much I cared.
Yeah.
They
Right.
didn't understand. So then made plenty of mistakes that I still have learned from. That first 1, 2, 3 years coaching was invaluable.
Yeah.
So many failures on my end in respect to communication, and so it was important for me, like that block. But I can still see the growth now. That, I mean, you've had 20 years to continue to reflect and refine, refine.
But I
So it's
also think
amazing.
too, though, like you're always going to want it more. That's why
Yeah.
I'm doing what I'm doing. Like I'm always going to want it more than everybody else. Right? Like I'm the first one that gets judged. I'm the last one that has to answer for everything that everybody else that makes that mistake. Like, this isn't for the faint of heart. Like you said, it's not the job that pays like this ridiculous amount of money and I have spent my youth standing in the freezing cold, you know what I mean, out there not doing anything but just trying to demand better of young men in the prime of their life where they have the world right in front of them, so takes a lot to do those types of things and to put yourself out there that way. So I feel like you do want to find like-minded people. I love, some of the stuff that you've shared. I love, following that, and God bless the, algorithm of, online stuff and social media that you watch a couple of those things once or twice and you sit there and you reviewed it again to use it for yourself. And then now you're just, more and more things kind of come my way because of that, different books, different, talks, different speeches, different podcasts. It just all of a sudden kind of like, they learn what it is that you're trying to achieve and grow. And you can use some of it. Some of it, I find it is reoccurring, like you find like you're repeating yourself, right? Or that you hear some of the same things. Sure. But it's something that you're still in the arena.
Yeah.
You're still there. You know what I mean? Like the chance, I get asked quite often by new recruits, "Coach, are you're going to stay?" And they're like, "You're here for a while." And it's like, man, I don't know. I don't know anything else. I
Yeah.
don't know anything different. I still get a Jonesing every day to walk up that hill, on that river and head to practice and just to be at practice. I love the games and everything like that, but going to practice every day and being around these guys is really that's the heart of it all. To have that purpose. Guys need purpose.
Oh yeah.
Men need purpose. They need to have something that to belong to that's bigger than them, that requires more than what they know that they have, and just you're fighting the good fight.
Oh yeah. And then in respect to that, I've had people that I played college lacrosse, and then they're like, oh, interesting, Division III, and they start to look down, and then say Marymount, they start to look down. So the more they know, the more they want to look down, and I'm like, dude, I wouldn't change any of this,
Right.
any of it.
Right.
Just the odd balls that we all came together, and I love every single one of them, and standing in their weddings.
The rogue heroes.
Oh yeah. And then us embracing that role.
Oh yeah.
And by senior year, we were something else,
Yeah,
especially on defense.
those are always the things, man. I'm sure every person touts it, but there is a way that it's done here, and it's it is taking like the ragtag, the bad news bears aspect of it, the junkyard dogs, like
Oh, yeah.
that's what it's about. So
Bernie the dog.
you got to be the dog. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to share it. It's by far my favorite story, and I tell this so often. I love it. It was the Hampton Sydney upset.
Yeah.
So I do want to get your side of the story, because I got mine. It was great. We're warming up, or we're not even started warming up. I guess how we work: 60 minutes pregame.
Yeah.
60-minute starts. We get to pass around a little bit,
Stretch. Yeah. Do this.
move, then we gear up.
Yeah.
So we're playing catch, and then it's time to gear up. Hampton City starts their lap, and how and I'm like speaking to people who are unfamiliar. So they start their lap. They're going around their end zone. like using football terminology, behind their goal, and they're wrapping around their field. What they should do is take a hard left at their 50-yard line, their midline, and continue just on their half of the field.
Correct.
What Hampton City decided to do is take that lap and then continue to run around our end of the field. So they're going around our back end, our end zone. Our goalies have to stop their warm-up, and they're hooting and hollering and getting loud,
Oh,
like
yeah.
trying to establish dominance on our home field.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So now all of us are just on our sidelines as they're rounding the end zone. They're in a line of 2, 40 guys, and they're hooting and hollering, and they're just splitting us as we're putting our pads on. And so I'm closest to the box. I'm towards the end of their hooting and hollering, and I'm next to a freshman, just Jack Black dude.
Sean Latimer.
Yeah. Just the every essence of the program.
Oh, yeah.
Latimer.
Huge.
This is this guy.
6'4". He never touched the field, but yeah, he was
Never
an
touched the field,
absolute
never touched a weight, but he's jacked.
physical specimen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm getting dressed next to Latimer, and so Latimer, he's not having any of this.
Oh, he saw it. He saw it.
Oh, yeah.
I was at the box behind. I was helping getting, the table organized as they were doing that, and looked up to see it late. And I'm like, man, these guys really doing this? I remember seeing Corey Carpenter dump a bucket of balls
Oh,
in
yeah.
front of him. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, you want to run on our sideline? Because, he's a Maryland kid and he understands. He's like, yeah, you don't do this in our county.
No. Yeah. So Latimer, he just pulls down his pants. He's got his drawers on.
I think
puts
he was
his cup on.
I think he was just naked. I think he was literally wearing some SpongeBob SquarePants. Like he was standing there in just his drawers and
a cup. So he's got boxers, cup, and he's wearing a cutoff sleeveless shirt, like crop, and it's got one pit bull mounting another pit bull, and then on that shirt it says "Every dog has its day," and so Sean just stands and splits the line, and it's like I'm hiding behind him, like
he's eyeing every guy,
every
he looked
single
him right
guy
in their face,
and they're hooting and hollering, and as they pass Sean, mute. Shut
dead
up.
silent.
Zip.
Yeah.
Zip.
Not
zip,
one of those
zip.
guys had ever seen or was gonna have something to say.
Nope.
To that guy.
Yeah. So it's just like tight butthole, tight butthole, tight butthole as they're running down, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
From that moment, they all shut up, went to their little huddle on the sideline, and we just came out and freaking steamrolled them.
Yeah.
It was amazing. That was the best thing. They were number 13, I believe. 13.
Yeah, I definitely would have to look at the ranking, but they do a great job of keeping the records and stuff like that. But they were 13, 14, 15 at some point like that. We were unranked, right? I remember that being one of the games that year was the biggest upset.
Yeah.
In D3 there was like one other game somebody had beaten Roanoke or something that year, and it was like a huge one. And but that was up there, like an absolutely unranked team, 26 guys, and you say they have 40. I think they had like 50 guys then, and it was, and all from the best schools, the best facilities, the best things that possibly could be. And yeah, that was something that, looking back on too, and that was early. That was year
Three?
3.
Yeah, I was a senior.
Did I? No. Hammer senior year?
Yeah, Hammer and I are
Those
senior.
guys? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then yes, Scotty and I got game balls for that one. A tip of the cap to the D mid, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I want to give the game ball to Latimer and then Jackson's older brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So I'm gonna throw this clip in there just because it's up on the YouTubes.
Oh yeah, it is.
But our film guy Joe Gaggs that year, he's filming. And Jackson's brother's on the sideline, and parents start talking trash to him because he's hooting and hollering.
Oh, he was giving it back. I think it happened all game. I don't know that I was paying attention to like every word that they said, but they'd had it.
Oh,
yeah.
But they're like, "Is this your home field? Is this your home field?" Trying to talk down to him. And he's like, "Who cares? You just lost."
I think there was a couple other colorful words in there.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Yeah, epic and clear as day on the camera.
I don't really fuck with we got to play bigger. Yeah, baby. He is not big. Is this your home field? Say what? Is your home field? Who gives a shit? You guys just lost. Get great. Let's have
And it was like they were standing next to it when it happened. He's like, "Is this yours?" He's like, "I don't care. You just you just lost." And they lost. Yeah, that was terrible. I think second half, Hammer like almost pitched it near shutout. It was like 9-1 second half. And I remember Coach Rostan, I have a ton of respect for that guy as a legend. He was a head coach at the time. I just remember seeing him so upset. And there's some things that visibly for me, I'm sure that I've been that guy, but when I get upset, I kind of just, especially in front of the guys, I look back, I go stoic. I don't have a reaction. Guys know I'm upset, so they avoid me, right? I'm not so visibly shaking and screaming at everybody. It's never been, my kind of style of getting upset. But I love seeing other guys do it. I love seeing that happen with other coaches, and I just remember him just tearing guys up on the side, and you know when you got a team
Oh yeah.
when that happens. You know that you're like, we're gonna win this. I remember beating CNU and seeing that same thing happen. I remember beating St. Mary's, Mary Wash, and I remember just some of those coaches that that were there at the time, like absolutely losing it on the sideline
Yeah.
because they thought that this was the end of the world. And man, and those to me, like you said, you remember that guy hitting that guy and doing that. I will never forget those things. Never forget that the feeling I had and just sitting there and just being like
Yeah.
smiling and just
There,
enjoying it.
there's an energy to games. You can feel it in real time, but then that's the memory. Like I don't
Yeah.
remember the scores, but remember
Right.
the energy, the feeling, the moments, some of the plays, and I mean 20 years removed, more or less, like still hold on to it. And then I'm still seeing my buddies. Not like the scoreboards are off the table, but it's just the ridiculousness,
Yeah.
like Corey rolling the balls out for those guys.
Yeah, just dumped it right in front.
But yeah, to wind it down, man, there was so much personal growth from 1, 2, 3 years as captain to 3 years coaching that exponentially just changed the whole trajectory of not only my career but my life. So I'm forever grateful for the relationship. If the tyrannical coach was still in place, I still would have played because that's just who I am. But at the same time, I probably would have turned into that coach
Yeah.
because that would be the only thing
Or
I knew.
who knows? Who
Well,
knows what you
knows?
would have done? Like, yeah, maybe you would have just gone to school to go to school. Like, I say you would have stuck it out, but maybe you wouldn't have put into it what you did. Maybe being a captain of that situation wouldn't have been something that you would have been interested in. You could look back. I'm a big person on fate. And I think the older I get,
Well, for that first group, yeah, there is only one thing that could have brought us all together.
Yeah. For sure, for sure. I think that there's a lot to be said for that, and I wonder quite often, like looking back and be like, "Whoa, man!" Like I said, what would you have changed? I don't know. I don't know that I would have changed a lot. There are some guys that I feel like maybe I failed. You know what I mean? I did it, but you know what? Those guys as well too. The ones that don't stick it out, the ones that didn't stick it out, then I feel, you know what? That looking back, it was their loss. You know what I mean? I'm sure they stay connected with some of the guys, but not necessarily to the level of connection that I get together with guys now that I don't know why we never did this, but it's been something now too that we do this with guys that I played with. And it's something I hope and wish that everybody does, that your class does, that get groups of guys. It's more than just like homecoming weekend, but we kind of started this and hopefully it stays like a yearly tradition of where you get together with guys and hopefully more and more we can include like, some guys in addition have come, and it's just been a great experience to get a group of guys together and just literally, I don't know that I laugh as much as I ever do. Like my lungs hurt my chest hurts coming out of it. There's
Oh, yeah.
just shenanigan talk that happens from all the stuff that we did, and uh, looking back at it now, like there is something to be said for all the stuff that occurred, when you were there, and man, that I look, it's a source of pride in every sense of the word.
Oh yeah, and then got 2 Hall of Famers from those teams, which is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they definitely deserve it, uh, for sure. And then the shenanigans, like you said.
Yeah.
I shared some of our cheeky fun shenanigans with the team in one of my talks.
Yeah, yeah. But I
I
remember
hope they don't get caught trying to redo those, but
so here's the thing that I do want to give so much credit to, where it's like I think looking back at it now, and this is no knock to our current guys. If you were to ask me what has changed about guys from when I was here to when I took over to now, right? Is just that guys now, we go as coaches and we hang out with we reward the seniors after graduation. Like, we go and we take them out, and again, it's guys telling stories, and saying thanks, but also, oh, welcome to the alumni, right? Welcome to being to this side of it. Thank you for the time that you gave and the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into this program, and to know that maybe whatever, regardless of what everyone else thinks, I personally value that. And my opinion matters greatly, right? Especially when it comes to the program. So, but I do think that, what it comes down to is something that um, they're less creative. They're just not, they're not, like, you guys mirrored a lot of some of the stuff that we did as players. And I'll tell you what, I appreciate that. What that was. That's definitely was a lot of fun.
uh, I love it.
Yeah.
It just brings me so much joy if I'm feeling down. I think it's just something silly adventure that we got into.
Yeah.
And even walking around campus today, I'm like, memory, memory, memory. And I mean, we didn't have TikTok, we didn't have social media. Like, Facebook just started, so we had no choice but to just use our imaginations to just be stupid.
Yeah. And I think that, it wasn't, you could say that it was to be stupid, but it was almost just, it was boys being boys.
Well,
It was,
within respect to like a task like shoveling the whole field, we're going to find some humor in this. We're still
yes.
going to
Yeah.
complete the task,
Yeah. Yep.
but it's just going to be hilarious in how we organize this snow. It just so happened to be positioned like
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. They still do some stuff. I get them together. Hey, I need you guys to do this. I need you to have host something, and then get the team together. And
What, did you get calls from the president?
there's a hierarchy. It changes
All
now.
right, all
I
right.
used to get that to be like, Doctor
We're having fun.
Doctor Bunshoe.
Oh man, wow! I'm having flashbacks. I mean, we'll wrap it there, but
Yeah.
just I want to have this conversation to show how grateful I am, because in the coaching career, you run into so many coaches that they have a despise for their college level coach or their high school coach, and there's this vendetta that they succeeded in spite of.
Yeah.
And I don't appreciate that. If I have a negative experience with a coach, now I'm going to turn and think, how can I avoid that conflict, or why did that conflict happen, and redirect it. So within our positive, healthy relationship, and here we are hanging out 20 years later. Okay, what was valuable there, and why
Yeah.
was there this reverberation of impact? So AIM is to highlight a lot of that here. So I'm grateful for everything, including your time today.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I'm going to continue to come back and just
Yeah.
in for it.
It does me well to see, you doing well. I think there's an old song, it's no fun unless my friends can have some, you know what I mean? And that's something where, it just means a lot to have that, you know what I mean? And it does me well to see guys do well that came through the program, and that's what more or less I think is so much that it's all about, and there's for us to be able to get together and do this, and I appreciate that opportunity, and it definitely is it's cool. It's my first podcast, so
We we all started somewhere. So if people want to follow the team this season, 2025, which they do, we're Instagram, right?
yeah, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, which is probably more for a lot of the parents, right? Instagram. They do a pretty good job. The sports information department here has done like tenfold of just getting better at the production of different videos and just highlighting some of the things that happen for all the sports that are here. But I think that if I could say anything, I'm not going to put to a point to be like, hey, you know what, this is you know you got to come check us out this year because we got something cooking.
There we go.
Oh yeah,
All
come see
right.
the game.
Yeah, Arlington, Virginia, where we're located. Check out the boys, have some fun. I'm going to aim to make it for a game. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Captains and Coaches Podcast. If you like what you heard here today, be sure to like, subscribe, rate, and review the show, and look for a new episode every Wednesday. If you are a coach or an athlete looking for a training program that combines movement and leadership, head to captainsandcoaches.com. Also, be sure to follow along Marymount Lens Lacrosse team on Instagram at MarymountMLax. They got a great media team. I'll be following along all season as they seek their first ever NCAA bid. Congratulations to Coach Reynolds on his 20th year, 2005. So long ago, man. I was glad to be there for the first win. Looking forward to seeing you in your first tournament win at the end of the season. Good luck, boys. Rooting for you. Once a Saint, always a Saint. And thank you, listeners, for helping us raise the game. Bye.